Good evening. I call this May 25th, 2021 meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. This meeting is being streamed on the Town of Morrisville website. On May 28th, a video of this meeting will be uploaded to www.townofmorrisville.org/government/live-video. We are happy to have all members of council able to attend present tonight in council chambers. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson will be participating remotely by phone. Councilmember Robati is expected imminently. Council will invoke Rule 19 to allow for Councilmember Scroggins Johnson's remote participation. Social distancing for staff and visitors is in place for the safety of those present for tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting includes 3 public hearings. In-person public comment will be allowed for tonight's meeting. Public address and public hearing comments were also accepted from 9 a.m. through 3 p.m. today. If time remains after in-person public speakers, comments received from interested parties that include a full name and address will be read verbatim during the public hearing for up to 3 minutes each, for a total of 30 minutes. Town Council may choose to suspend some or all of these rules if so desired. Sergeant Chad Penland has been a law enforcement officer for 21 years and is currently assigned to the Field Operations Division. We appreciate him being tonight's Sergeant at Arms. I now recognize Councilmember Fender for tonight's invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to do the St. Francis prayer. God, let me be a channel of peace. Where there's hatred, may I bring love. Where there's wrong, may I bring the spirit of forgiveness. Where there's discord, may I bring harmony. Where there's error, may I bring truth. Where there's doubt, may I bring faith. Where there's despair, may I bring hope. Where there are shadows, may I bring light. Where there is sadness, may I bring joy. May I seek to comfort rather than to be comforted, to understand rather than to be understood, to love rather than to be loved. For it is by giving that one receives, and it is by forgiving that one is forgiven. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Is there a motion and second to invoke Rule 19?
Want to do the pledge first?
Yep, sorry. Pledge of Allegiance. All who are able, please stand and join in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Eric, can we get a microphone for? No, I could. You should probably have a microphone. Okay. At this time, is there a motion and second to invoke Rule 19?
I'll make that motion.
A motion from Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
And a second from Councilmember Fender. Town Clerk Smith will please conduct a roll call vote.
Councilmember Garamella. Aye. Councilmember Fender.
Aye.
Councilmember Rao.
Aye.
Councilmember Robati. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
Motion to invoke Rule 19 passes.
Before we adopt tonight's agenda, Town Council policy is to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. Do any council members have any such conflicts?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion and second to adopt this evening's agenda?
I move that we adopt this evening's agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Town Clerk Smith will conduct a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rao.
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella. Aye. Councilmember Fender.
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
The motion to adopt the regular agenda passes.
There are 5 items on this evening's consent agenda. A resolution approving the award of FY 2021 paving project contract Morrisville Fire Rescue Department Community Risk Assessment Standards of Cover, a budget ordinance amendment for the purchase of real property at 910 Church Street, and approval of the April Town Council meeting minutes. Would any council member like to pull any of these items for discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Town Clerk Smith will facilitate our roll call vote to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Rao,
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella, Councilmember Fender,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
The motion to adopt the consent agenda passes.
Thank you. We have 4 presentations tonight: a proclamation recognizing National Senior Fitness Day, a proclamation recognizing National Trails Day, a proclamation recognizing Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and recognition of Fire Chief Scott Criddle for receiving the Executive Fire Officer designation. I'll read the first proclamation recognizing National Senior Fitness Day. Whereas National Senior Fitness Day was initiated in 1993 as an annual day of celebrating senior health and wellness, encouraging seniors to exercise and remain fit, and whereas the goals of National Senior Fitness Day are to promote the importance of regular physical activity and to show what local organizations are doing to improve the health of older adults in their communities, and whereas Morrisville understands the importance of remaining active and exercising regularly as seniors to prevent complications and ensure a higher quality of day-to-day living, and whereas Morrisville is dedicated to providing programming, classes, and facilities both indoors and outdoors for physical fitness and exercise to people of all ages, now therefore the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby recognize May 26th of 2021 as National Senior Fitness Day, and encourages all residents and seniors to focus on fitness and their overall health, adopted this 25th day of May, 2021. At this time, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Fender to read our second proclamation.
In recognition of National Trails Day. Whereas National Trails Day was initiated by the American Hiking Society in 1992 as an annual day of celebrating the benefits of public trails, greenways, and getting exercise outdoors, and whereas trails and greenways provide an easy way to experience nature in your neighborhood via walking or biking, and whereas trails and greenways help to preserve open space and natural areas within the urban fabric, and whereas trails and greenways are a classic method of getting exercise and physical activity outside the home or gym that is affordable and accessible, and whereas trails are an excellent gas-free transportation option for commuting to work or getting around town without needing to drive in a car, and whereas Morrisville has over 9 miles of greenways, we need more, that are open to residents and the public to use. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby recognize June 5th of 2021 as National Trails Day and encourages all residents to get out and enjoy the trails in town. Adopted this, the 25th day of May 2021.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Rao will read the third proclamation, please.
Proclamation recognizing May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Whereas the United States Congress enacted Public Law 95-419 establishing Asian Pacific American Heritage Week in 1978, they selected early May for this observance because of the 2 important milestones in the history of Asians in America: the arrival of Manjiro, the first Japanese citizen to settle in our country, on May 7, 1843, and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad using a largely Chinese labor force on May 10, 1869. And whereas in 1990, reflecting the growing numbers and diversity of Asians and Pacific Islanders in America, Congress expanded the observance from 1 week to the entire month of May. And whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month offers us an opportunity to celebrate the vast contributions Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have made to our nation, reflecting on the challenges still faced by Hopi communities and recommit to making the American dream a reality for all. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders comprise many ethnicities and languages, and their myriad achievements embody the American experience, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have started businesses, including some of our nation's most successful and dynamic enterprises. API men and women are leaders in every aspect of American life, in government and industry, science and medicine, the arts, and our armed forces, education, and sports. And now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby recognize May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. This month, we encourage citizens to reflect on the indelible ways API communities have shaped our national life as we celebrate centuries of trial and triumph. Let us rededicate ourselves to making Morrisville a place that welcomes the contributions of all people, all colors, and all creeds, and ensures the American dream is within reach for all who seek it.
Thank you very much. Martha Page, Town Manager, will facilitate the recognition of Fire Chief Scott Criddle.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'd like to ask Chief Criddle to come up front and center. One of his favorite things to do. Thank you. In all seriousness, this is really an honor to be able to present to our Fire Chief, Scott Criddle, the Executive Fire Officer designation. This is a very elite and prestigious award. He has been working at this for the past 4 years. This is an in-residency program where he has gone away from his job, from his family for over 2 weeks, along with many, many hours of work preparing research papers, several of which we've talked about at length and which we, the town and the fire department, have benefited from. So it is just a real honor to be able to present this, especially since we're in person. His family, Sue, his wife Sue, his sons Tim and Zach are here to also share in this honor. So Chief, I'd like to give you your fancy little award. Say thank you. Congratulations. Some of his staff is watching over at the other fire stations so that they can share with him. Chief, would you like to say just a few words? Sure.
I appreciate the recognition, and I've always appreciated the support I've gotten from the town in general, always, regardless of my position, and from the family. I mean, it was 2 weeks at a time for 4 years, and it's one thing for the family to get used to you being a firefighter and being not there every night, but 2 weeks away from the house at the same time gets a little difficult. It's also a little difficult to be gone that long, but at the end of the day, I learned a lot, and the idea generally is to kind of get the kind of education and training that you would expect of somebody who's holding this position, and I want to build myself into the person that y'all need me to be. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and be well.
I'd like to ask Sue and Tim and Zach to come on up so we could take a couple pictures up here with council.
Okay.
If you would. I think
Go around that
anyone that's comfortable, if you want to do that. It's our first opportunity. I don't know if anybody's comfortable with that.
We can stand right up behind them.
Great. Thank you.
Are you kidding me? Steve Rao can't be in the picture.
Because he's too many places.
Family can get close together. All right. You want to come on this one? Yep. There you go. All right. Hold on. I have to zoom back out. All right. 1, 2, 3. One more for good measure. All right. Yes. Fancy. Fancy. Absolutely. Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll send you tomorrow.
Chief Criddle is an inspiration and a credit to our town, and we're lucky to have him. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you the family for helping out and supporting him. I know that's difficult. At this time, we're at item 9, public address. Town Clerk Smith will now present any public comments received.
There was one comment received for public address from Nelson Paul, 307 Misty Grove Circle, Morrisville, North Carolina. I would like to make a comment about how some bicyclists are using, or rather abusing, the Hatcher Creek Greenway. Some bicyclists are using the Hatcher Creek Greenway as a race course. This is most prominent on weekends, particularly early mornings. The speed they are reaching exceeds 30 miles per hour, and they have no regard for pedestrians urging them to slow down. The potential exists for an accident involving either a pedestrian, bicyclist, or both that could result in serious injury and or death. The Greenway ordinance seems to suggest a speed limit of 12 miles per hour, but the wording is not clear. If this is in fact the Greenway speed limit and this is enforced as the speed limit, that would be an acceptable resolution. I want to make it clear, though, that most bicycles operate their bicycles responsibly and well within this speed limit. I am requesting that the board review the Greenway ordinance in regards to bicyclists. A secondary issue the town needs to review is the use of motorized vehicles on the Greenway and town parks. There are many new electrically powered devices now that were not considered when the ordinance was originally written. If the town elects to set up a task force to review and possibly rewrite the ordinance, I would be happy to be a part of this. I have a regulatory background from my previous employment with the NC state government. All comments received were provided in their entirety to town council and will be entered into the public record. There were no residents or individuals to sign up for a public hearing or a public address, and I did check the entry.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item 10, public hearing. There are 3 public hearing items on the agenda. Consideration of annexation for property located at 703 Church Street, consideration of text amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance related to access and circulation, and the FY 2022 proposed annual operating budget and related items. Aaron Pritchard, Planner 2, will present the first public hearing item. Mr. Pritchard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No new updates at this time, but I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we open the public hearing? Okay. I now open the public hearing. Are there any individuals present for in-person comments? Nope. And did we receive anything?
I did not.
Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Just for clarification, Frank, does that have to be 24 hours from now because we're invoked Rule 19, or since we're mostly here, what's your ruling on that?
I would say we're 99% in person. So.
Close it immediately? As of today? Okay. So that was the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second from Councilmember Rabati. Town Clerk Smith will please facilitate the roll call vote.
Councilmember Fender.
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella. Aye. Councilmember Rao.
Aye.
Councilmember Robati.
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
The motion to close the public hearing passes unanimously.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay. Hearing none, we're planning, you want to tell us next steps, when we'll see you again?
Yes. Next appearance here will be at the next meeting of the town council in 2 weeks to vote on the ordinance for the annexation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ben Howell, Long Range Planning Manager, will facilitate the next public hearing item. Mr. Howell.
Good evening, Council. Just a quick update, excuse me, on the item before you tonight. And it was in your packet. We were able to come up with some new language that I hope will address the concern that was mentioned at the last meeting around the Greenway Connector PIL, and you'll see that under the Updates History Briefing section. We are proposing to add onto the end of the sentence that reads, Payment in lieu of construction of any greenway connector may be requested by the applicant pursuant to Section 8.1.3. We're proposing to add only if there are factors outside of the developer's control, such as environmental factors or property that is not owned by the developer, that would not allow construction of the greenway connector. And that is the only update I have.
Okay. This is a continuation of the public hearing opened on the 11th. Were there any individuals present for in-person comments? Okay, and did we receive anything? No. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing as of immediately?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Town Clerk Smith will facilitate the roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Robati,
Aye.
Councilmember Rao, Councilmember Garamella, Councilmember Fender,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
The motion to close the public hearing passes unanimously.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Howell? I'd like to recognize Councilmember Fender and then Councilmember Garamella, please.
Can you just point me into the right section in the presentation where the text was changed that you just read about the greenway?
Certainly.
You really have to love this stuff to know exactly where to go.
So it's number 2A there. That second sentence is where the language was added that I mentioned.
2A. Okay. Thank you.
You're
Just
welcome.
wanted to be able to read it, look at it in front of me.
Okay. Are you comfortable? Okay.
That's good. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fine. Thank
Councilmember
you.
Garamella, please.
Yeah, I have two questions, Benjamin. Like, I know in the past there has been a lot of tussle between developers to give the cross-action access to the neighboring property. I know we are trying to ease this, but do we have any controls in place because the development is becoming a hostage because the other person is not able to return, or in time, especially CVS we have seen, and we have seen the Foot Line, where those kind of things, and then also the one in Mackerman next to the church, the cross-access was given and then it was taken away. So what can we do to ensure this whole operations are smooth?
So, excuse me. For cross-access, as you mentioned, we did add some additional language in there. We increased the number of circumstances that would warrant a waiver, that someone could apply to the planning director to get a waiver from cross-access. But for those circumstances where it doesn't fit into a waiver and they need to build it, but for whatever reason they can't, whether the adjoining property won't give them the access they need to get onto the property to complete the cross-access, or there's an environmental feature or something else. That's why we do have the payment in lieu of cross-access section. So in that case, we would require the developer to submit a payment in lieu of that cross-access to cover the cost of constructing that cross-access. Primarily where our thought is that would be used in cases where we're requiring a cross-access to an adjoining property that is undeveloped, with the thought that when that adjoining property develops, they would receive the payment in lieu and be able to construct the entire cross-access. But under some of these circumstances, like you mentioned, that occurred before we had this language, that would have given us another option.
So even if, for example, take CVS or the Foot Line, if they were having issues connecting to the other developer to give them access, if we are collecting payment in lieu, so why should we take upon like that task because of getting access and then do it? Because I wanted like a stronger language from the other person who is supposed to give as part of the right that, for me, it's a safety issue too for cross access. It's taking a payment in lieu is A-okay, but it's not solving the purpose when emergency services have to go through it.
Yeah, and the circumstances you mentioned are very unique. I will say they all had very specific circumstances that are specific to that site around them, and that's why those problems arose. We generally don't run into that issue. We have been able to address all three of those circumstances. At CVS, they are providing the cross-access as required. The Food Lion, we did finally, we were able to work with them and the other property owner to get that cross-access put in place. And we have addressed the cross-access issue with the new development on McCrimmon Parkway and the church. So we have other ways outside of the code that we try and work through as well. So as far as is there additional code language, we really don't believe so. Those situations are so unique that it's really difficult to come up with code language that addresses every single situation that you may run into.
Okay, and then the other one also where there was a property on Church Street which came for your review, and it was rejected because the cross-access was not given to the neighboring HOA, which is a green space. And for me, I thought that didn't make any sense because if it's already an existing green space, why would you give a stub there? Because it's never going to change. And why would we force them to have a stub into a
And that has been addressed with these amendments.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Howell? Okay. Next steps, Mr. Howell?
So next steps will be back in front of you on June 8th, asking for approval of these text amendments.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jeannie Hooks, Director of Management Services, will facilitate the final public hearing item tonight.
So good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to be here tonight with you, and I look forward to what's to come. So since presenting the recommended budget recently, Council, you've had several really good conversations that have led us to this point tonight to have a public hearing and then to move us forward. Council focused really in on really what was your common interest and wanted to demonstrate your commitment really to future parks and recreation items beyond just the bond, what the bond referendum will provide, and what Parkland Payment in Lieu has provided us to this date. So with that, staff actually offered you some suggestions, some things in your budget priorities that could be strategically shifted out or approached in a different manner in order to be able to, within the proposed budget, provide $620,000 that could be transferred out to establish a new Parks and Recreation Capital Reserve Fund. And it seemed that was generally supported at our last meeting from Council. And we did that without having to increase the tax rate or change any of the other fees. So we were able to house it within the original proposed values. I think that's a great accomplishment. Staff has updated the ordinances appropriately for the areas that make for those shifts and has prepared a draft resolution for establishing that new capital reserve fund that will focus on parks and recreational items. And I'll be happy to review that ordinance, the ordinance in its entirety, and the new, more so the new resolution for the capital reserve fund following the public hearing if you would prefer. So just to highlight or to reiterate more importantly is that the operating budget remains at $41.5 million for your general fund. and is $700,000 for your stormwater fund, and it continues to include appropriations for recognizing the ARPA fund at $2 million as originally proposed. So again, everything stayed generally the same, just some shifts here or there, and the tax rate is the same. So at this time, Mayor and Council, I would ask that you would conduct a public hearing, and we have also provided you the final budget portal comments, I believe I sent to you via email. So there were only 2 collectively. So thank you, Mayor.
At this time, I open the public hearing. Are there any individuals present for in-person comments? Anyone signed up? And we're not going to read the budget portal comments. That's not public hearing, correct?
Excuse me, sir?
We're not going to read the budget portal comments. That's separate.
We typically do not in an in-public meeting.
Okay. Okay, seeing none. We publicized this very much, so everyone's aware public hearing was tonight. Would someone like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Town Clerk Smith will please facilitate a roll call vote.
Councilmember Fender.
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella.
Aye.
Councilmember Rao.
Aye.
Councilmember Robati.
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing passes unanimously.
Okay, we're scheduled to discuss the budget further during our work session towards the end of the evening, but if we'd like to ask any questions now, we could also do that. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Hooks at this time?
I'm happy to go over the ordinance now and the new resolution. It's up to council.
I think we're cooking right now. Why don't we just keep going on the meeting and we'll
Okay.
circle back later.
All right, well, I appreciate council and staff for all their hard work this year. I did want to touch on just a few closing remarks before we move on. Is normally at this time of the year or this time during the process, staff's going to work to do their final proofing of information that we put out there in your abbreviated version. Make sure we capture any minor adjustments that need to be made and prepare our systems as we move towards hopefully adopting this budget on June 8th. So thank you all very much for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you in a little while during the work session.
Okay.
We are now at item 11. There is one new item on tonight's agenda, resolutions approving advisory committee charter amendments. Eric Smith, Town Clerk, will facilitate this item.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you stated, this evening I will be presenting the proposed amendments to our advisory committee charters. I'm going to give you just a quick timeline of the history of this item before we get started. On November 24 of last year, council amended the appointed public bodies administrative policy to include a review of committee charters once every 2 years, or at least every 2 years, I apologize. In February, during the town council annual winter retreat, council did have the opportunity to review all committee charters. They provided feedback and a general consensus on recommended edits to those charters. In March through May of this year, staff completed updates to the committee's charters based on the feedback received, and we presented those charters to each individual committee at their committee meetings throughout the month, just to allow for some discussion and to allow the committee to provide feedback on the proposed changes to their charters. Tonight, I plan to present these proposed draft charters to council for you to either affirm each charter or to provide further feedback or further amendments that we can make to each individual charter. And on June the 8th, town council will be asked to affirm the current charters or the amended charters at that meeting. Following discussion at the town council retreat, staff was able to summarize that council had a desire to edit or enhance the charter wording based upon 2 common themes that we found. The first theme was the inclusiveness of the language, or the need for inclusivity of the language, and the need to reinforce the purpose of each committee. We found that council voices a desire to replace the word citizen with wording that was just more inclusive of everyone within the town of Morrisville, the residents, visitors, and even the businesses that operate and interact within the town of Morrisville. We also found one of the common themes was the need to reinforce the committee purpose to consider, recommend, report, and advocate on various issues and topics to the town council for consideration. Taking these two themes, staff added and amended wording broadly throughout all the committee charters to reflect these two themes. Before I dig into each individual charter, I'm going to give you a really broad overview of those changes that were made for consistency across all the charters. And then once I complete those, once I highlight those changes, I'm going to dig into each committee charter specifically so you can see the changes that are specific to each individual committee charter. So the first broad change that we made was related to the inclusivity of language. And this first change takes place within the first whereas clause. Staff replaced the word citizens with the word community. While this is a real simple change, it has a lot of meaning, has a significant meaning. Citizens, of course, only includes the citizens of Morrisville. While we changed the word to community, it includes everyone that interacts within Morrisville, the citizens, visitors, businesses, everyone that has some type of day-to-day interaction within the town of Morrisville. So it's a very small change, as you can see. This excerpt is from the Public Safety Advisory Committee Charter. The original wording, whereas the Morrisville Town Council is responsible for enacting and enforcing local laws protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens and the peace and dignity of the town. The amended wording, very similar, whereas the Morrisville Town Council is responsible for enacting and enforcing local laws protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the community and the peace and dignity of the town. Like I said, a real simple change, but it has a whole lot of meaning, and we think this properly reflects the inclusiveness that town council requested at their retreat. The second substantial change is related to the reinforcement of the committee purpose. We replaced the section that was previously titled Type of Committee with the section titled Purpose. The original wording just read that the type of committee, the committee shall be an advisory committee to the town council. As all town council, as all advisory committees are advisory committees of town council, we felt that that was just a little bit redundant, and this section could be better used, and it could be greatly expanded to properly notate the purpose of the committee. So now we have amended this section to read that each committee will consider, recommend, and advocate to town council for consideration. While this change was implemented across all the charters, the language across the charters will vary as we included committee-specific focus within the amended language just to reflect that committee's intended purpose. So once again, this is an excerpt from the Public Safety Advisory Committee. It now reads, the committee shall be an advisory committee to the town council. The committee will consider, recommend, report, and advocate on behalf of issues and topics supporting the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens and the peace and dignity of the community for town council consideration. Once again, these highlighted areas are the changes that we've made that are going to be across the board, whereas these non-highlighted areas are more committee-specific, and we tried to keep that general purpose of the committee within the purpose here. Another significant change that we made was to the structure of the section titled Duties. Previously, we had a section that was titled Purpose, and we replaced this section with one titled Duties, just because we felt the need to clarify the difference between a duty and a purpose. Of course, a purpose is the reason for the committee's existence, whereas a duty is what the committee is being tasked to do. The original purpose would state the committee's duties shall include, but not be limited to, the following list. And then following this within the charter, there was an A, B, C that would indicate the various duties of the committee. What we did was we added a subheader that stated the committee's duties shall include, discuss, research, and make recommendations to town council on topics including the following. And then we listed those duties beneath that little qualifying statement just so we can reinforce the committee's purpose as council requested. In addition to the changes that were recommended by council, staff did make some changes that they recommended based on a need to amend the wording to reflect the changes to the appointed public body administrative policy, and some changes that were needed just for clarity and to keep everything consistent across all the committee charters. One of these changes came under the section that was titled Town Support of the Committee. We did make changes in the initial header section just to clarify who the support staff was. There were some committees that had outdated support staff. It was the wrong department that was supporting them, so we just made clarifying statements there to ensure that the charter listed the correct department that would support each committee. We did make an across-the-board change listing A through E under each committee charter. These changes were basically just for clarification to ensure some areas that were needed due to the appointed public bodies administrative policy amendments, such as D that was added to assist in the development of the annual work plan, reports to town council, in support of other joint advocacy efforts. But for the most part, this just remained unchanged. There was some wordsmithing, some editing just to make it a little more clear and a little bit more concise. As for the review process, I think the process that we did during the town council retreat, I think it went really well. I got a lot of good feedback. So I was hoping that this process could be similar in nature to that process. I'm going to present each committee charter. I'm going to highlight those broad changes really quickly since I've already explained them. And then I'm going to go over each of those smaller specific changes as they relate to each individual committee charter. And staff did realize that with multiple sources of edits, we have council edits, we have staff edits, and there were some edits from the committees. Looking at a red line document could really get confusing with 3 different parties providing that type of feedback. So we did a real simple highlighting method. The changes that are based on council feedback are going to be highlighted in yellow on the document. The changes based on staff recommendation are going to be highlighted in this green. The changes that were based on the amendments to the appointed public bodies policy are going to be in this blue. And the small amount of changes that were based on committee recommendation are going to be this nice shade of purple here. Were there any questions before we got started? And once again, remember, this is your review. Sometimes I have a tendency to go fast. Feel free to slow me down. If there's something that you need me to highlight, feel free to stop me and we can move through this process. Okay, the first charter for review is going to be PSAC. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. As I previously mentioned, these yellow areas are going to be the areas that were broad changes. Within this first whereas clause, as you can see, we swapped out the word citizen for community. We added the purpose section that discusses the committee, that reinforces the committee's duty to consider, recommend, report, and advocate to town council. And you can see we also added this heading to discuss, research, and make recommendations to town council. Specifically to PSAC, we did add the word innovative to the first duty, innovative methods and concepts to protect and improve citizens' health, safety, and welfare, and the peace and dignity of the town. These previous duties still remain unchanged. They just now sit under this umbrella item that we did add. Duties B and C were added upon staff recommendation. Duty B states to receive and address inquiries and concerns from residents and or community groups on issues related to public safety, including parking, speeding, pedestrian safety, and other related situations. This was simply added to capture a task that the committee already does. We just wanted to make sure that they do it. We wanted to be listed within the charter so they know that it's one of their listed duties. Duty C was also added to review, research, and consider updates and modifications to town ordinances to support the public health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. This was added just to broaden the scope of their work, to expand their work a little bit and their support to town council. Duty E was added as one of the necessary additions due to the amendments to the appointed public bodies administrative policy, and it just outlines the duty to develop a work plan for town council review and endorsement. And that, once again, is one of the ones that was added across all committee charters. And the last section with updates is another that was added across all committee charters. And as I stated before, it was just clarification of the town support of the committee and the addition of the need for the support staff liaison to assist in the development of an annual work plan, reports to town council, and support other joint advocacy efforts. I'll open up the floor for council discussion regarding, or council feedback discussion or questions regarding the Public Safety Advisory Committee charter.
Councilmember Rabadi, please.
So I guess I just want to question whether it's a great use of meeting time to go through these changes one by one. Could you help me understand why we're doing that?
We just do it once every 2 years and just to be thorough, but we could probably skip the 4. You don't need to read every single one.
Could I clarify for the council member? As this was the first charter, I was just reading it so you could see it, but for the next ones, I plan to just point out only the specific changes. I just wanted you to see the broad changes that I mentioned. I wanted you to see them kind of in actions, but for the next ones, I'm just going to point out the specific changes to the actual charter. I just wanted you to have a chance to see how it fits.
Okay, I appreciate all your work on this, Eric,
Yes,
and this is a good system. Thank you.
I had an edit for consideration. In the Parks and Rec, at the end of the purpose, they have needs and interests of the community to Town Council for consideration of the town's strategic plan, annual budget, and operational policies and practices. So I think that might be appropriate in this one as well, because budget is mentioned in the bullet, but PSAC can actually influence strategic plan, budget, and policies and practices for police and fire. That's exactly where the Quint concept was first vetted and continues to be as it evolves. So if maybe you can bring up.
And I know exactly what you're referring to. This is the only committee charter that did not have that change. You're referring to this line here?
Yeah.
For town council consideration, there's town strategic plan, annual budget, and operating policies and practices.
So just having PSAC also have that broad touch on the strategic plan, annual budget, and operation policies and practices. I just wonder if
Understood. We can
council
add
feels
that.
that's doable? Or was there some reason that was not in there?
There was previous discussion regarding PSAC and the budget. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I can reference it and then get back to you with an answer in the future. But there was some discussion. I know we do have the budget listed within the duties, so I'm not sure if we had it just outlined as a separate duty here or why it wasn't included. But I can go back and get that information for you.
I think it's helpful to have each of our resident committees touching on the strategic plan in general, because I think each of them would.
All right. Any further questions on the PSAC charter? All right.
Seeing none.
Moving right along. The Parks and Recreation charter. Of course, we had the broadly implemented changes. There were a few changes that were specific to this charter, which would be the inclusion of item 3 under duty, to ensure that the long-range plans were in alignment with the master plan. Item 7 was added to research innovative opportunities, activities, or programming related to the arts. And duty B was added, actively promoting parks and recreation and cultural resources department facilities and programming. I believe the request previously was specifically for MAFC promotion, but we figured it would be best to just put them under the broad department facilities and programming. And these were the only 3 specific changes to the Parks and Recreation Committee charter. Any questions or feedback regarding this charter? Or any
Councilmember Rabadi, please.
Yeah, Erica, duty 3 that talks about tracking of milestones and really also long-range plans in alignment with Parks and Rec master plans. That seems to be more of a staff function. Am I wrong in that? Tracking milestones and aligning the plan with the Parks and Rec master plan?
I think it could be both, because within the work plan, each individual committee does have their goals, and then they also have trackable milestones and actionable items within those goals.
Okay, so those are the milestones of the committee?
Exactly.
I think it might be a good idea to call that out a little bit better. Like tracking of committee milestones or tracking of committee goal milestones or whatever.
And we can make that clarification
Okay,
if council would like.
I'd like to put another thing for consideration to add Parks and Rec Master Plan and Comprehensive Transportation Plan as part of the purpose. So towards the end, the last of the purpose would be Town Council for consideration in the town's strategic plan, Parks and Rec Master Plan, and Comprehensive Transportation Plan, annual budget, and operational policies and practices. just to include those, as that is the main purpose of the committee, is that plan, and the transportation plan now has greenways. So Parks and Rec, I think, should also have input into that plan as well. Is that acceptable to the council? Okay. Any other questions or comments on the Parks and Rec committee? Okay,
Right.
moving on.
Moving right along. The next charter is the Senior Advisory Committee charter. The only substantial change to this charter was that council requested that we add healthy living to the fourth duty. I did discuss the possibility of changing the name of the committee to Active Senior Advisory Committee. The committee said they had no interest in changing the name at this time. So, and I'll open the floor for feedback.
I'd like to bring one thing up for consideration in the purpose. At the last line again, town strategic plan, Parks and Rec master plan, annual budget, and operational policies and practices. So I'd like to have them have input into the Parks and Rec master plan as part of their purpose.
All right.
Anything else on the senior committee? Okay, moving on.
The next committee was the Performance Measures Advisory Committee, and council recommended no amendments to this charter.
Does anyone have any comments or suggestions for this one? Okay, moving on.
The next charter is the Morrisville Environment and Stormwater Committee. There were a couple specific changes to this charter. The initial whereas clause was expanded to include the addition of innovative stormwater, renewable energy, and sustainability policies. Duty A1 includes the addition of yard waste, and Duty 3 includes the addition of the word renewable energy. And those were the only changes to the Environment and Stormwater Committee charter.
Okay, I have a similar request to consider the idea of adding town strategic plan, annual budget, and operational policies and practices somewhere in there. That would take some wordsmithing because this one's written a little bit differently than the others. So that would be something that I would like to have us consider. Otherwise, there's lots of good things in that purpose.
All right.
Councilmember Fender, please.
I just have a short comment on the Performance Measures Advisory Committee, if you don't mind. Just under duties, the section E, that last sentence there needs to be rewritten. It says the work plan will be focused on local government and citizen and community outreach goals and objectives. So
We can wordsmith that to make it a little more clear and
some
concise.
commas there and
Will do.
a couple of less ands.
Gotcha. We'll update that across all the charters.
Councilmember Rao, please.
The only thing I'd like, and we don't have to do it on this charter, but just something for us to think about is some connection between our stormwater environmental committee and, entrepreneurial type companies. Because I think that this year I've been reading more on sustainability, and I think typically in the past I've really, because of my background, focused on, the entrepreneurs in the technology sector, but there's a lot of investments and capital and business ideas that are coming from sustainability efforts, and these sustainability efforts can also be connected to our smart city initiatives. So I just don't know where to add it in under the duties, just in terms of, one of the additional duties is to connect entrepreneurs and investors, just with new ideas of sustainability. I'll just have to think about it. I just want to throw that out there for council to hear my thoughts. I'm not really asking for any specific change, but I think it's something that we should think about moving forward.
Okay.
If I may piggyback on top of that, okay.
I would suggest that if council wants to consider that, that's more appropriate for a smart city steering committee who's also working in that area than MESC, and the committees work together.
Okay.
Okay, because I was going to piggyback and say maybe we can have a partner section, but the Smart City Committee does have that, so hopefully that would meet that need.
Okay.
Does that address
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
concern?
I just wanted to throw that out there, whether it's one city, I just want to see this intersection.
Understood.
Because
And the MES committee does within their work plan have some intersections with the Smart City Steering Committee also, so we can look into this.
Do we want somewhere to say that they actively coordinate with each other in the charters, or is that overly prescriptive? Any thoughts? Councilmember Rabadi?
I think we should assume that all the committees will actively coordinate where necessary.
Okay.
I don't think we necessarily need to call that out.
Yep, that makes sense.
I mean, unless we're going to do it in every charter and add a section that says every committee partners with every other committee as necessary, but
Okay.
I mean, if we're not hiring people that would instinctively know that, I feel like we're probably.
Okay, that's very reasonable. Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next committee then.
All right. Okay, the next committee charter is the Morrisville Public Education Advisory Committee. This committee charter is unique as the committee, this is the only one where the committee provided some recommended edits. This first version here reflects only staff and council recommended changes. Council did request that the focus areas within the opening whereas clause be rearranged to have high quality education prioritized, and we have also added the focus on ensuring a reasonable proximity to Wake County Public Schools. So we just rearranged these based upon council's request for prioritization, and we added the reasonable proximity of Wake County Public Schools. Under the committee membership, we did add that Durham County residents are eligible as applicants to the committee, and under the committee advisory support partners, we added Durham County school representatives. All the other changes were just broadly implemented changes that we have previously discussed. This second version includes the staff and council recommended changes, as well as the committee recommended changes. In addition to the previous changes, the Morrisville Public Education Advisory Committee suggested that we replace the word workforce development with career pathway resources. Let me zoom in, that purple is a little difficult to see. With career pathway resources, they felt that the language workforce development wasn't accurate as it describes someone that was already in the workforce rather than students. They believe that the proposed language would better describe students who may not seek higher education following high school and would pursue other career pathways. This amended wording can be found in this opening whereas clause within item 2, purpose, and under item duties 4.6 here. The committee also suggested that we replace the word partners within item 5 with the word resources, and they requested that we add Durham Public School System as a resource to item 5 just for consistency, and those changes are here. And I'll open the floor for council discussion or feedback.
I'd like to recognize Councilmember Fender, please, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, and then Councilmember Rabadi.
My only comment is that I'm in favor of the changes that the committee added. I like the career pathway resources and adding the Durham Public School System to the resources.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
I was going to echo the exact same thing. I think the wording change to career pathway is an excellent suggestion. So I thank them for their help in wordsmithing this, because that really is important distinction. So thank you.
Councilmember Rabadi.
Okay, just because I can't help myself, the Wake County School Board representatives, the S is in parentheses, and the Durham County School Board, it isn't.
We'll correct
And
that.
I can't vote for it when it's that way.
We'll correct that.
You know that. And the other thing is, the only thing that I liked about workforce, the previous wording about workforce, was that I felt like it implied that the committee would work with all businesses in the area to determine like what are the next, what are going to be the next big things, what's going to best equip students for the future. And then, just make that known, whether to us or to, to Wake County or whoever. As I'm saying that out loud, I'm realizing that it might be outside of the scope of this committee, but I still did think it was a great idea and somebody should be doing it. So I just want to mention that. I mean, career pathway resources is great wording. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Would item F on community advisory support meet that need for business community? You think? Does that fill that gap, Councilmember Rabati?
Could you repeat that, Mayor?
F as in Frank. It says Morrisville Chamber of Commerce and business community. You're afraid that the workforce makes business less, so maybe that.
I see. Yeah, I guess that satisfies that. I apologize for glancing at my phone. Victoria's home alone. She had surgery yesterday, so every time, I wanted to keep it up here, and I do keep glancing at it every time I get a notification. So that's why I'm not multitasking on my phone.
Very understandable. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Councilmember Rao, please.
Yes, thank you. I too like the version with the committee input. I think there are some very good, modifications. The career pathways, I think that the workforce word means a lot of different things to a lot of different individuals. But I want us to also be watching to see what the trends are in the career pathways. So maybe we could amend that slightly to say career pathways and trends, because that way we're aware of what is up and coming, and that would, by saying trends, there would be an opportunity to invite businesses to give input and so forth like that. It's broad enough that there's more flexibility, and it also keeps looking at the future. So, just a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. I don't want to intercept. Councilmember Rao, and then I have a comment on her comment.
I was going to add the comment about trends, but I think career pathway trends would be good, or resources and trends. And then I think, go up. Yeah. And career pathway trends, needs and interests. And then go down to like where you were on the under 6, where it says career pathway, I'll go resources and leverage educational systems and partnerships in order. I want that defined more than just to close gaps. I think that language should say career pathway, resources / trends, or just career pathway trends, and leverage educational systems and partnerships in order to close workforce skill gaps or skill gaps in the workforce, because we're addressing skill gaps that exist. That's what Dr. Rawls talks a lot about in Wake Tech. The reason Wake Tech is a ladder college is because there's gaps between the jobs that are being automated away, or people are losing their jobs, and how do they get new skills that are marketable in the economy, in the new economy. And so these could be in technology or vocational trades, healthcare. Okay. So I think we should have a language in there about skill, because gaps is too general, I think.
We can expand on that.
What is a gap?
Yeah. Understood.
And I'd piggyback on that, just on number 6. There might be the opportunity to put trends in and partnerships in order to identify emerging trends and close gaps, etc. So it could appear maybe just that one place instead of throughout for trends. But I think we can pass that back to staff, and they will work on that and bring it back. so we don't overly try to wordsmith stuff up here.
Got it. We can
I
expand
think,
on that section.
Anyone have any more thoughts on this committee? Okay,
All right.
seeing none.
The next committee is the Morrisville Smart City Steering Committee. Council did not have the opportunity to review this committee charter as they had just recently developed the charter and approved it. But there were some changes made. Those broadly implemented changes that we discussed were made in those locations I previously indicated. And I'll open the floor for council discussion or feedback.
Recognize Councilmember Rabadi, please.
Where's the section in this charter that says something about there's no requirements whatsoever for non-technical members? It might be down more, maybe?
Right here?
Yes. So I think that there are no technical requirements for non-technical members, but I think that, I think we read those resumes very carefully and pick the people that are definitely going to add value to the committee. We can either say there are no technical requirements, and that's fine with me, or we can say non-technical members bring skills such as, program management, program management, collaboration, whatever you guys, you know what they do. But I'm fine going either way, but I do not want that to say there's no requirements.
I think if we wordsmith it the way you initially said, there are no technical requirements for non-technical members, I think that'll have the correct intent that council originally intended for that line that was added. So I think that'll convey that intent properly.
That's a very good catch. I'd put for consideration the idea of adding, like to some of the other ones I suggested, needs and interests of the community to town council for consideration, the town strategic plan, annual budget, and operational policies and practices. Because I think that a lot of what they're going to be talking about will be very aligned with our strategic plan and inform it. And I believe that they will be affecting budget. So similar to the other ones that have that sort of boilerplate. Okay, and it's actually already in there, so I guess it wasn't in the red line. So thank you very much. I apologize.
It may have gotten deleted from the red line accidentally.
Okay. That was the last one. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilmember Rao, please.
I guess when it says recommend, report, and advocate on behalf of issues and topics supporting the innovation and advancement of smart city initiatives, I guess within that statement, is that implied that one of the things I want, my vision for the Smart City Committee has always been that we're going to encourage those, entrepreneurs and tech-minded individuals who have ideas of where they can come in and offer, solutions, or it could be a company that's got an idea. Is that implied in that, supporting the innovation and advancement of smart city initiatives?
If I could jump in?
Yeah.
If you remember, I believe you asked that question when Rick Ralph presented, and I think he asked to allow the committee to form, develop, and concentrate on the smart city ramp up and initiatives first.
Okay, I just wanted to know just whether that language is, I'm not asking for it now, I just wanted to know if that's what it means. So I guess like Town Manager Page said, I guess first the committee's getting going and doing this first phase, and maybe that's something we could revisit down the road. Or
You formulate a new committee, sometimes you need to allow them to have some focus.
Yeah, I understand.
And I think that was what, to tag on to what Town Manager Page was saying.
Yeah,
Really his intent.
I've been attending the meetings up until they went in person, so.
They're getting their feet under them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good committee. Thank you.
All right. There is no more comments regarding the Smart City Steering Committee. The next step, there were further edits that were recommended, so we're going to go back, wordsmith some of these sections, complete some of these edits, and we'll bring it back at the June 8th meeting for your review and action on the item.
Okay.
Any questions?
Will any of these committees meet in between now and then, and they might want to take another run at the edits we're suggesting? Or
The committees will meet in between. I believe we have Parks and Recreation and then Smart City Steering Committee, but we did not plan on presenting. I did inform the committees that the next time they see the charter, they would be finalized and approved by the town council. So they aren't expecting to see these again until that time.
Okay, I don't expect anything that we discussed tonight would be a problem. Councilmember Garamilla?
Eric, in the past, we used to see committee reports, right? Like I have seen very selectively coming from the Education Committee and a few, but not the rest. A lot of good work is getting done by them. So can we expect a quarterly, just a readout, kind of a thing, what's going on? That would be helpful to us. I'm going to say we get the minutes and all those things, but I just wanted to ensure that that gives an opportunity for them if there is something that they want to present, or at least a report that they used to get that we could read it.
And there are, during the amendments to the appointed public body administrative policy, we did add in some wording that said that you would receive some type of report, whether it be a work plan update, the joint meetings with town council, but we can go and possibly discuss the implementation of a quarterly report or something of that nature.
Because council, previously we used to,
council would like that.
They used to come and present it, and that's what I remember, and that's a good time when you meet the committee members and they were passionate about from where they're coming with issues.
Okay. That's something we can certainly discuss.
And we determine by time whether or not that's something that's a presentation that we ask questions about, or if they actually present.
Okay. And so you mean an actual in-person report?
It sounds like he'd be interested in in-person report. And
I'm in to say at least a report, because I hate when their turn comes in that session, they don't have to wait 2 hours before they can come to present, but at least initially some good reporting would be good.
When we get in the cadence of meeting with the committees, I think all that'll sort of work its way out.
Okay.
Because I think we're all very interested in having a little bit more direct contact with our committees, as they're so useful to us.
All right.
Anything else for Town Clerk Smith at this time? Okay.
Thank you much.
Seeing none, we're at item 12. I can go through future meetings, events, and then we'll take a quick break. If that's acceptable with everybody?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson is indicating she can't hear anything. Did we lose her call?
I believe the town Wi-Fi dropped.
I
got kicked off too.
Yeah, it disconnected the call, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's go into a break and then come back.
Councilmember Garamella made a very nice suggestion. Why don't we go ahead and take a 10-minute break now while this technical difficulty is addressed? Let's please reconvene at 7:24. Thank you. Town Manager Page. Okay. Coming back into order, we're at item 12, future meetings, events, and citizen involvement opportunities. For a full listing of events, please see the town calendar at www.townofmorrisville.org. So there's a couple items tonight I'd like to mention. Tomorrow, Wednesday, May 26th, Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church is having a Moderna vaccination event between 4 and 7 p.m. A sign-up Genius link is available on my social media. Also tomorrow, Morrisville Senior Center has a lot of great events to celebrate. Wednesday is National Senior Health and Fitness Day. We just read that proclamation. There will be a variety of exercise and information sessions at both the Morrisville Senior Center and the Morrisville Aquatics and Fitness Center, including starting off the day at MAFC with Yoga for Wellness and ending at 6 p.m. with low-impact cardio interval aerobics with Stephanie at MSC, Morrisville Senior Center. You can check them out at www.tinyurl.com/MORR Senior Center or at tinyurl.com/sign-up-MAFC. Every Saturday, our Healthy Food Hub hosts the Western Wake Farmers Market, who are now operating under their summer hours, 8 a.m. until noon, every Saturday on Town Hall Drive. Monday, May 31st, town offices will be closed for Memorial Day. June 7th through June 11th is the town's biannual curbside bulk item pickup. During this special designated week, residents receiving residential curbside solid waste services may leave a total of 5 acceptable bulk items curbside on their regular trash recycling curbside pickup day. You can see details of what is and what is not acceptable online now or via social media closer to those dates. On Thursday, June 10th, will be our white goods collection day. White goods collection requires registration. You can complete the form links found on our calendar or call 919-463-7070 to confirm your collection. Requests must be received by Monday, June 7th. Friday, June 11th, save the date for our next Music at the Hub event. This time it's salsa music starting at 6 p.m. Sunday, June 13th, will be our next pop-up dog park. Pre-register online for a 1-hour slot for your large or small dog to come have fun at Morrisville Community Park. Another save the date, Saturday, June 19th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Cedar Fork Community Center for Morrisville's Juneteenth celebration. It will be a festive day of education and commemoration. Join us as we celebrate the emancipation of slavery and the achievements of Morrisville's historic Shiloh community through speakers, proclamations, food, fun activities, music, vendors, entertainment, and more. And here's the last one. Please check our social media to learn more about the Citizens Police Academy. A free 8-week course provides an inside look at law enforcement. Additional details and info to register by June 30th, also available via an email to morrisvillecpa@townofmorrisville.org. At this time, we're at council member comments, item 13. The council comments will be Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by myself. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a quick question about the events that you listed. I know that we have a registration that's required for the white goods pickup, which is on June 10th for townwide pickup of washer and dryers and refrigerators and so forth like that. But isn't it a bulk pickup week for the entire town that does not require registration, the week of June 7th?
Correct. That's accurate. I'd like to recognize our Public Works Director to go into it a little bit more in case I might have misstated something.
Good evening. June 7 through 11 is the bulk item pickup. There's no registration for that. You just bring the items to the curb, and at the same time that you bring your recycling cans, and they will send a different truck that will collect those items. Items that they collect in the bulk item pickup are things like sofas, tables, or things that are not necessarily the white goods. If they're white goods, then you will pre-register for the 10th to be picked up, and those will be picked up by our own staff.
And
Any
those
other
would
questions?
be more like dishwashers or a white good, for example?
Yeah, dishwasher, washer, dryer. Microwaves are not part of that, but it's mostly the washer, dryer, refrigerator, dishwasher.
So would a stove be included in that, like a range?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I really get excited when we have those special weeks, so that's why I wanted to mention it, because we are on Monday pickup, so my neighborhood, if we're not paying attention, we miss that. So I just wanted to make sure, starting June 7th. And the other item I wanted to mention, thank you so much, is on Monday we are not celebrating, but we're honoring those individuals that have given everything for their country, and that is our Memorial Day. Here in Morrisville, unfortunately, we do not have a monument or a place right now for our honoring of memorial veterans and so forth, but we do have a committee that is fundraising, so I hope that they continue that effort. So one year soon, we will be able to have a place to honor those individuals that have served their country in our very own Morrisville. So thank you.
Thank you. I think we're all looking forward to that. I'd like to thank Parks and Rec and supporting departments for another great movie in the park. This time it was Brave, and then that was followed the following day by a really fun Spring Fest. Thank you for the dog park. Ginger and Rocky made a new friend, and we are looking forward to enjoying wide open space for Morrisville dogs to play again on Sunday, June 13th. Our Parks and Rec Department keep hitting home runs, and as restrictions loosen, they will only be more fun and creative. I just completed my final weigh-in this morning as part of the Spring into Fitness on the green team. I want to thank Kendall and the rest of the team for all their inspirational work. Thank you to the Morrisville Chamber and the many volunteers who made the Chamber golf outing such a success. Thank you to the residents of Wexford who did a litter sweep this past Sunday to help keep Morrisville beautiful. Good luck to our hometown Carolina Hurricanes playing as we speak against the Nashville Predators in Game 5 of the Best of 7 series. I am looking forward to heading over to the Wake Competition Center and taking in some of their practices when COVID is in our rearview mirror. Speaking of which, we have worked so hard to be safe. Let's keep making good decisions, which includes wearing a mask when indoors and unsure about the vaccination status of others. Keep your distance whenever possible and continue washing your hands often. The more careful each of us are, the sooner we can all do the things that we love. And I just want to be clear that I'm still wearing my mask because one of my family members is not yet fully vaccinated, so that's why I'm wearing a mask. I'm sure of everyone's vaccination in here is fine. So next will be Councilmember Rabadi, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson. Councilmember Rabadi.
Yes, on the one-year anniversary of George Floyd's death, I just wanted to mention how grateful I am for Police Chief Patrice Andrews, who's always out in the forefront on body cameras and implicit bias training and everything to make our police force the best police force possible. We've never, thank God, had a problem in Morrisville with over-policing of minority communities, but it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark, and Police Chief Andrews has been so on top of this and so receptive, and I just wanted to call that out. Also, Omkar Mohil interviewed me for about schools in Morrisville for a McIntyre Youth Leadership Challenge video that he was creating. I wanted to recognize that Omkar won second place in this very prestigious statewide competition, and congratulations to him and his family. And I also would like to echo what Council Member Scroggins Johnson said about Memorial Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, followed by Councilmember Rao.
I'm just going to add two quick things. First, it is a pleasure to have in-person events again here in the town of Morrisville. We recently had our Spring Fest, which was a much more scaled-down version of our typical Spring Fest, but it was wonderful to be out there. And, of course, Music at the Hub last week was fabulous as well, and had an incredibly good turnout and some fabulous food, too. So thank you all on staff that are making these in-person events possible in a very safe way for all of us. And then the other thing I want to say is, and I said this at the last meeting, and I'll want to say it again because it's important to say, there are countries around the world that are suffering greatly from this COVID pandemic, and there are nations that our citizens here in Morrisville are originally from and have family members. So I want the citizens of Morrisville to know that we all are thinking of them, thinking of our of their family and friends in Nepal and India and again across the globe that are greatly affected by COVID, and they're all in our prayers.
Thank you. Councilmember Rao, followed by Councilmember Fender.
Just a couple of comments. First of all, the Music at the Hub was excellent. I want to welcome Empanadas and More. I had lunch there with Councilmember Rabadi. Great place. And Woody's Tavern is coming in to Grace Park, so it looks like some new businesses are coming. Real quickly, pray for India. They've crossed 300,000 deaths. Tomorrow for Radio Naira, I'm going to be hosting an interview with a friend of Councilmember Garamella and mine, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, who's one of the 4 Indian-American congressmen in the United States. He's going to be updating us on the COVID response from the United States, talking about Asian American hate crime and maybe addressing some immigration issues. So I'll be sharing where you can watch that tomorrow. Asian American Heritage Month is a great month. I just think I'm so proud of the Asian Americans that we have in Morrisville, and I'm very proud also to serve on probably the only council in the state, or one of the few, that have two Asian Americans that serve on the body, one an immigrant from India and one the son of immigrants who arrived in the U.S. in 1968. And so it's great for Satish and I to be a part of that historic history here in North Carolina. And the final thing, real quickly, I had a virtual fireside chat with for the National Tennis Month with Andy Andrews and Katrina Adams, former pro player, and I was honored to address the National Association of Black Journalists with Renee Chu on Asian hate. But I just want to end my comments on the George Floyd anniversary. It's been an honor to serve on the NCLM Racial and Equity Task Force, and I'm going to continue to do that. And it's been amazing to see the importance that the league has placed on how important racial equity is for future forward, viable, and thriving economies. And I think that I'm going to share the report again. I sent it to Aaron Hudson with the entire council, and I want everyone to read the report because I think it's a great opportunity for us and a great reminder that George Floyd's death, while tragic, has forced us to, in my opinion, do the very important diagnosis in our country that we have a problem of racial racism and racial bias. The challenge with racial bias is that unlike going into a medical exam and you can't get it on a medical exam, but you know it exists in the hearts of people. And I think the best treatment is to develop policies that can enable our citizens to feel safe and feel that we're all equal. And so on that note, I would encourage everyone to go to the NAACP.org site where you can participate in a number of virtual events. Today was a virtual day of action. There's opportunities for you to call your senators to support the George Floyd Policing Act. And since his death, there's been change, positive change, protests in cities, rallies for Black Lives Matters, but most importantly, seeing reform and how we can change policies. So sorry to go over my time, but it's great to be here again to see all of you in person. It really is much better than the virtual meeting. So thank you. And happy Memorial Day to all our heroes.
Councilmember Fender, followed by Councilmember Garamella, please.
I'll keep my comments short. I just want to thank the committee members of the Parks, Rec, and Cultural Citizens Advisory Committee. I think you guys have put in a lot of hard work over the past year and overcome some challenges. And I just hope that moving forward, you're going to continue doing really good work and working together in a cohesive team. So just want to thank you guys for all you're doing and hope you stick with it in serving the town. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Garamella?
All has been said, no comment.
Okay.
Mayor, I had one question. Could you repeat where the Shiloh Moderna event is? I'm sorry.
It's going to be at the Shiloh Baptist Church, right on Church Street, next to the Luther Green Center.
What time is that and where can
Between 4 and 7.
I didn't hear the date.
It's tomorrow.
Is it on a website anywhere we can direct people to?
Not so much. It's on my social media, so feel free to cut and paste it from there.
4 to 7. All right, thank you.
Yep. And that's open to everybody, and it's Moderna, so it's age 16 plus.
Walk-in or appointment?
And they'd like pre-registration, but there might be an opportunity for walk-in. Okay. Pre-registering is always a better idea whenever possible.
They do allow walk-ins. It's scheduled a walk-in.
Okay, thank you.
We are now at item 14. There is one work session on tonight's agenda, FY 2022 proposed annual operating budget and related items. Martha Page, Town Manager, and Jeannie Hooks, Director of Management Services, will facilitate. I apologize, I skipped over staff comments. Town Manager Page, were there any staff comments tonight? Okay, then what I just said. We're passing it to Town Manager Page and Director of Management Services, Jeannie Hooks, for our work session. Thank you.
Martha, you good if I just jump right in? All right, so tonight I just wanted to give us a little time just to go through the formal documents at a high level. I'm not going to go through every item by item. I will focus on the things that likely changed as a result of the suggested strategy that Council has embraced. As I mentioned, the budget value still stays for the general fund at $41.5 million. Where we made the adjustments were in shifting some things around as we pulled some of those budget priorities out, impacted the governing body, administration departments, public works, and the fleet department. So we've just adjusted those numbers appropriately, and what happened is those went down naturally in lieu of a transfer to establish that new capital reserve fund. So you'll see the governing body value increased. Another area that it impacted, because one of the items was strategically related to the bond cost, because we're going to leverage the potential for premiums. We cut that bond cost expense, the logistical cost to administer a bond referendum. We cut that cost in half, so we've reduced this value, so it impacted your debt service fund as a result of what the general fund was sending to it. So at a high level, there are obviously in your budget ordinance where it appropriates funds to other types of funds. More importantly, your other operating fund is your stormwater fund, so I'll just call attention to that. There are no changes to that fund. And then, of course, we have some other types of funds that we do routinely allocate to each year. The most important thing about a budget ordinance is that your power as a council is to set a tax rate and levy, give the order to levy those taxes and any other associated fees that Wake County is going to do for you on your behalf. So we have the two levies, which are the 36 cents, which is generally your operating budget, and then, of course, your municipal service district that remained at 10 cents. We call out appropriating fees. We have authorized positions, and then, of course, we define in your ordinance your pay and merit plans. So they're generally the most important critical items here. Of course, and we can't forget our legal services, our counsel. That is another area that the budget ordinance calls out. There's no changes this year to those fees. In the special authorization section, this is where you give special authority to your town manager. Really, I would call these your area to allow her the flexibility to function within this budget authority limits to carry out the business of the organization. So these are routine things that we've had in place and year over year. There's been no material change. So from there, we roll into the resolutions. The one that I mentioned earlier is Wake County requires us to have an order to levy and collect on your behalf, and this is another routine resolution. And in order to establish any new fund, we tend to do a resolution of intent where you give the town manager the authority to create a new fund for you and to be compliant. And the new item that you would want to spend more of your time on to make sure that it is your words, what you want to create, is we've prepared a draft resolution for establishing the Parks and Recreation Capital Reserve Fund. This is really the bringing to fruition your common interest, and the reason why we offered the additional strategy to pull or approach things a little differently, to give you the leverage to have $620,000 this year to establish a special capital reserve fund. I will note, by law, a capital reserve fund can only be used for capital expenses. You cannot spend directly from a capital reserve fund. It has to send it back to an operating fund. So your expenses, what I am saying is you have control of what it appropriates from this fund to spend when it needs to be spent, and that it is strictly for capital items, not operational items. And it's called out, I think, in the whereases to specify that it doesn't allow for that. Capital reserve fund should be general enough to be flexible, to house within the scope of parks and recreation. So what do I mean by that? One of the things that you want to make sure that it likely includes is if you want to use some of this money to help you handle debt for a future parks and recreation item. So not only is it for the construction cost and design cost and getting things shovel ready, it could also be used to leverage for or get you closer to short-term debt payments, potentially. But it's at the will of council when we transfer the money out that you have that ability to control and manage that. So I'll pause there and open the floor to see if there are any questions, anything that we change, any feedback.
Jeannie, will you just note where I made the mistake and the word will take out of that last clause that we'll fix before you see the final?
Yes. So we got super excited, I guess, and
we had the word transportation in here, which Jeannie's taken out already. Yeah. But we tried to mirror the roadway and transportation to provide the generally same levels of authority and specificity, but did put the clause in there specifically of precluding it being from repairs and maintenance types of projects.
Okay, and you kind of intimated it, but this is, even though it'll be in the budget you present every year, we're not required, we're not obligating ourselves to put the equivalent of a penny.
This one, that's a very good question. So this one uses the word dedicated, but it does say that there's a clause in here that says that you will each year be able to make that decision. So it gives you some flexibility in the language, and that was intentional.
Okay, just want to make sure that was clear for everyone at home.
And it says it in this whereas right here, Mayor.
Okay. And we have that same similar language for the transportation.
Because you need to be careful with the word designated. If you designate a penny, it's routinely allocated.
Right.
But this clause gives you the flexibility.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions about what she's gone over so far? Okay.
So, I have a question.
Yeah, Councilmember Garamella, please.
The last line, right, Jeannie, which says, right now we are taking a one-time fund, right, and then it says like a dedicated allocation of 1 cent tax rate annually as the primary funding mechanism. So next year it'll go into the budget that it's not like a one-time. Is that how I?
Right. So annually, you're telling us this is critically important to you. You're committed to it. We would make that a part of our budget proposal unless there was some compelling reason why staff would put it on the table for you. But for council each year, it's for your will and desire as if you want it to stay and be a part of the budget. Okay.
Councilmember Rabati, please.
If we establish the fund with wording about the 620,000 or the 1 cent or whatever, do we have an option under this resolution to fund it halfway, to fund it like, is it either all or nothing, or?
So I think what we have tried to do for you in one of these items, which I think I just had.
I see it here in the whereas that's close to the bottom. Town council intends to annually contribute dedicating 1 cent.
In order to manage these unforeseen circumstances. So that really, in my opinion, gives you the flexibility each budget year if you wanted to appropriate less than a penny. It gives you some flexibility to do that, but you're telling staff your intent and your commitment is to try to get the penny in there. We'll just have to identify what's the give and take so that you have good data and information to base your decision on. But you, at the will of council, can, based on this language, designate something different or forego it altogether each budget year.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, please.
So I didn't think of this till just now, and I'm not advocating, and this may never happen, but you talk about unforeseen negative impacts to the operating budget. What if there was a windfall of money, like in parkland payment in lieu, and a future council decided we have so much money that we're going to take a pause this year and not invest in this. Can you do it? Can somebody do it that way too?
You can do it that way as well,
Okay.
which we have technically with the roadway and transportation capital reserve. You elected to do more than a penny. And so that's always at the will of council as to what you choose to do each annual year. If you had a windfall, would be a perfect example of that. Or if you had a compelling desire to commit more because you knew a capital project was on the horizon that might need additional funding.
Okay, so you could commit more or commit less. Okay.
You remember, this is
no matter the circumstance.
This is your capital reserve fund. You can amend the scope in a future year. You can dissolve it. But when it is established, while it's established, there's certain parameters that we're allowed to work in. And I think the language here is flexible enough to go either way. That was good. I hadn't thought of it that way myself.
I think that's all the questions for that portion.
Okay. So that would be really what staff was planning to provide you this evening. I'm certainly willing to address any other comments, receive any other comments or questions. I'm just happy we are at the place that we're at. As I said earlier, we are going to be working and preparing for proposing an adoption June 8th, if possible, considering we're sensing council's interest is to move forward.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
So thank you, Jeannie. Yeah, so June 8th sounds like we're on target, I think, for that. We had another work session set up, I think, scheduled for later in June. So I'm assuming that would not be necessary then.
So I'll jump in. We've already substituted all of your town center presentations for that night.
Got it.
So you have a meeting.
Okay.
And we really want you to be there, but
I'll
not
be
for
here.
budget.
It's on my calendar.
It's his turn now.
I totally forgot about the town center. I've been focused on the budget. So thank you.
Okay, so does anyone have any more questions? Because essentially what they're presenting tonight is what we're going to be voting on the 8th, and if you have any issues with it, now is the time, because there isn't much more. So I'm seeing that there's lots of nodding heads, and there's been a lot of hard work, and I'm sure that we're all going to want to thank you for all the hard work on the 8th.
Thank you all.
And we'll thank you now, too. So, okay, wonderful, great. Good process this year, really well done. We are at adjournment. Does the town staff have anything for the good of the order before I entertain? Okay. Thank you for watching this meeting of the Morrisville Town Council. We hope you plan to join us again. Please feel free to email your town council members at towncouncil@townofmorrisville.org or visit www.townofmorrisville.org/council for additional contact information. Is there a motion and second to adjourn?
Motion.
A motion from Councilmember Body and the second was from Councilmember Rao. Is that correct? Okay. Town Clerk Smith will facilitate our roll call vote, please, sir.
Councilmember Fender.
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella. Councilmember Rao.
Aye.
Councilmember Robati.
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn passes unanimously.
It is 7:56. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Nice, you guys.
A Cawley record.